minutes for me. I don't know,
Oh, we are
but
live now.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. Welcome everybody for this 18th edition of Design Quotient Industry E-Meet. We are organizing this E-Meet for the benefit of design aspirants and their parents. They always have a lot of doubts in terms of what industrial designers do or what creative professionals do. All
Isn't
right.
it?
Welcome everybody for this
Somebody
18th
is.
edition of Design Quotient Industry.
That's mine.
All right. Okay. Sorry for that. All right. So every week between 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock, we'll be inviting our illustrated design professional to share their experiences, share their journey, and if possible, share some of their work to give a preview into what they are doing. We have had very interesting fashion designers, transportation designers, architects, urban designers, urban planners on this show. You can access all these shows by subscribing to the DQ Labs channel. Today we have a very interesting designer. He's a design manager. He's Blessen Philip. He has been my senior when I was in IIT Delhi, and we had also worked together in Global Design Studio, the Hero Honda Global Design Studio. For a short while, I was with him for a short while. I was interning then, and they were working on very interesting scooters, two-wheelers, right? So Blessen has over 15 years of industry experience, and he has two published US patents and 8 pending patent applications in India and the US. So he has set up the fourth global 3M Design Center in India in 2018 and conducted the first 3M Design Summit in India, bringing together design and innovation thought leaders from across the country. He previously worked as an industrial designer at Hero Motors, a leading two-wheeler OEM in India on styling of scooters for Indian market. And he holds a master's degree in industrial design from IIT Delhi and a BTech degree in mechanical engineering from Cochin University of Science and Technology. So we are very happy to welcome Blessen Philip on this platform to share his journey, share his experiences and story, and give us a peek view into what happens in the life of a design professional. Welcome, Blessen. We are very happy
Hey,
to have you here.
thank you, Mesh, for having me here. It's a pleasure to be talking to students and their parents. I think this is a good opportunity for me to share out how my journey has been, and also I think for the students to maybe have an exposure to what happens in the industry, and because given the kind of experiences that I've had, I'm sure you'll have some questions, and we can answer some of them towards the end of the presentation.
Absolutely.
So,
Yes. Welcome, Blessen.
should I? Hey, thank you. Should I go ahead and share my screen?
Yes, please. Please share your screen.
Umesh, let me know if you can see the screen.
Yeah, we can see the screen.
Okay, so friends, my name is Blessen Philip. I'm the Senior Design Manager at 3M India. I'm also the design lead for 3M's Global Rail initiative. So at 3M, as a design manager, I'm responsible for product innovation, brand experience design, business value creation, and talent development. So you'll see some of this in my presentation and how we approach these areas. But the real background actually is in how I got into design, and probably that's the area that most of the students or design aspirants might be interested in. So I did my BTech in mechanical engineering from Cochin University, and then got into design at IIT Delhi. My first job has been with Hero Global Design. And then that's when I got into 3M. So let me get started a little bit about me, because I think the my formative years have been really crucial to how I got into design. I'm from the southern state of Kerala, in a small town called Kottayam. What you see here are the elements that have really influenced me in my childhood. I've, as a kid, uh, learned martial arts, the traditional martial arts called the Kalaripayat. I've been to these places with my uncles and brothers, and this has had a huge influence on the way I think and the way I react to my environment. It's been my formative years. A good part of my schooling has then been in the Sultanate of Oman, where my father was working. So that gave me an exposure to a completely different culture and kind of people there, the language, the food, and an exposure to a little more modern lifestyle, uh, the latest cars and motorcycles, and the kind of lifestyle choices that were there were completely different from what I had seen in the southern state of Kerala. So with that, then I came back to India and did my bachelor's in mechanical engineering, and this was mainly to be close to cars and motorcycles. That was my passion. So I thought that I would always work on developing cars or motorcycles. And that point, I had no idea there was a design school that would train people to design or draw cars. So I got into mechanical engineering, and it was towards the final year that I really started getting that exposure to design. That's because I saw a poster from uh, IIT Bombay that showed someone sketching a car. I was like, wow, this is like amazing, because I love sketching and painting as one of my passions. And I thought that this would be really interesting if I could get into this field where I could sketch and draw cars and create something new. Because I remember as a kid, uh, there was not much exposure to design or industrial design per se. Uh, People mostly knew about engineering, right? So things were engineered to last and to be effective, but the design aspect was not really talked about, and that's also an issue that we have. It's not very matured at this stage. Also, we don't use much of the design vocabulary in our day-to-day life. Design is usually associated with patterns and colors or shapes, or at most with interior design and fashion and all that. Doesn't go beyond that to the whole experience that someone creates. Right. So given that, so there was not much encouragement from the family to actually take up design. But then I realized that that's what I wanted to do. So after my engineering, so I had a choice to make. I could join the Air Force because I got a job there, uh, or I could do design because I had cleared the entrance at Delhi. So I thought I'll give it a try with design, because I felt that there was this calling, like I would find happiness in that. And the first 6 months at IIT Delhi completely transformed me. The kind of exposure that I got to creating something new, understanding what user needs were, and that burst of creativity that was encouraged was really inspiring. And I didn't want to let go of that. So I had that 6 months to decide to join Air Force or not, and that was my decision. I decided to take the that more engaging and probably more tougher, because we had like sleepless nights working on these projects, but I just loved it. And that's when I really got into design and started focusing on design. So when you look at my studies, I've had the good fortune of being in different parts uh, of the world. Like I've been in Oman, I've done my bachelor's in Cochin, I've done my master's in Delhi. And then recently I did a master's in business administration from IIM Bangalore. This was to get an exposure to the business side so that I could understand how products are actually taken to the customer, how business models are created, and how the design value could be enhanced by understanding the business aspects. Uh, During that course, I also got a chance to study in Melbourne and spend like a course, 3 months there, uh, and that gave a completely different exposure to a really nice space, and also the kind of education that I got on brand experience and market research and all that added on to helping me create more value through design. So the next phase of my life was getting that job, the first job. So I actually started off as an intern at Hero Motors. Here, I was working with my seniors, Abhishek, who was working on two-wheelers. And at that time, Hero Motors got into a tie-up with Aprilia. So this was the Italian race company. They used to make race scooters and motorcycles, and they wanted to come to India. And because of this tie-up, I got to work with them and learn more about styling, lights and shadows, about how to create an emotional language with the products. And then from there, I was able to learn a lot about how to create a volume in a certain way, clay modeling and surface modeling, and also how these design elements translate into an actual product. So what the picture that you see there is a mock-up that we had made as a team. I also got a chance to work with a lot of talent designers. Uh, you can see Nishant, my seniors there. Also, these Italian designers. But for me, the big change was after a year when I wanted to move to Bangalore, down south, closer to my hometown, and I decided to join 3M. And this was an interesting decision because at that point, 3M was not very popular in the automotive field, but 3M was popular for their innovation. And this was interesting because I had learned in my design course, about how 3M innovates, and I was really curious about that. And also at that time, 3M was working with almost all the automotive OEMs. So I thought that if I joined them, I would get an exposure to what true innovation is, and also be able to work with a lot of automotive companies. But what I learned was what changed my life, about how this company is and how this company has come into being. So here's a short video that I have that kind of shows uh, what this company is. And the company that started around 118 years ago, and that was a failed attempt where the founders who had put this company together wanted to mine for a material called corundum, but soon realized that it was not corundum, but had zero commercial value. But they did not give up. They decided that they're going to use that and find new uses for this mineral. And from there, this company has become a scientific powerhouse for the world today. Let's take a look at how this is shaped up.
It started with a rock, just an ordinary rock, and the idea that it could be something so much more. Well, if that was true, what if everything could be made better, smarter, cleaner, safer? So that's what we did. And before you knew it, those ideas were everywhere, saving lives, building neighborhoods, even exploring the stars. Millions of moments every day for over 100 years, in ways so great and small they often aren't even noticed. Oh, but they're felt. They're there when families reunite, lessons are learned, and great ideas are first born. And still we ask, what if we could be more as well? Make smarter use of our resources, build a company as strong as some of our products, and help make other companies even more successful. How how do we give our people the power and opportunity to find the next future and cultivate curiosity for generations to come? For the next mind that sees a rock can become something so much more.
Hey, Umesh, I'll pause here and see if there are any questions.
All right. Um, all right. So all the attendees, the audience, if you have any questions so far, please do feel free to ask in the chat window, and we will pick it up and we will ask Blessen. So, Blessen, I have noticed that you have done MBA from IIM Bangalore. That was quite interesting to know
Yeah.
because I didn't know that fact before, right? So you're an engineer, you're a designer, and a manager. So, what proportion of these you are actually using in your uh, daily professional life?
I think at heart, I'm a designer, right? So my job today is being a design manager, which is about creating more designers and creating more value for design through the work that I do. But uh, at the core of it, I'm a designer. That's my passion, and every time I get into a project, I have to stop myself from like getting in with my creative side, but let others and my team members contribute more to it. So I think design also has that breadth to what it can offer. So it does solve engineering problems, it does solve management problems, it does solve social problems. So at the heart of it, I think it's design.
Design. All right. So, so on basis of that, the MBA that you have done, okay, so how is it helping you as a designer?
Oh, a lot, because it has opened up a completely new perspective on how businesses are run, how this value is delivered to the end user, how business models are being made to be more sustainable. These are all important aspects that are usually not covered in a design school. So it's important to bring these aspects together because you work in an ecosystem, right? You work with colleagues who have to take your solutions out there into the market. So you want to ensure that it's that you understand that end user needs, not just from a design point of view, but also from a business point of view, right?
Hmm.
On how it can be more sustainable. So it gives a completely different perspective on how to position your products, right? So that it adds more value to your end user.
Right. So it's not just the idea to prototype, but idea to market. I think that would your experiences through design degree and also a master's degree in MBA might probably complete that circle, like an idea to market rather than just idea to prototype. Is that does that make sense?
I think it's much broader than that because when you're focused on a product, right? Like for an engineer, it's about making that product work, right? But when you look at it from a design point of view, you broaden that and then you bring in the end user and see what that experience for that end user is going to be, right? And when you bring in the business aspect of it, you then tend to see how sustainable is this going to be in the market, how competitive it's going to be in the market, and what is that value that you are actually going to bring. So you actually need to wear all these three hats, and in a team you need to have all these three also. You need to have your technical colleagues who can solve for the manufacturing problems and the technology. You need to have designers who can be the voice of the end user, and you also need your business colleagues who can bring in the business perspective and bring in how this can be sustained
Right, right,
as
cool.
a value model. Yeah.
Right. So, Sriram Ganesh Ram is asking, what is your main role as a design manager at 3M?
Yeah. Multiple roles. It's about creating value for our customer. That's the main role. How can you create more value for 3M's customers, right? It's about understanding what our customer needs are, and then transforming that into design solutions, and then taking that out in a sustainable way to our end customer. So I'll cover some of it through
Right.
my slides. Yeah.
Right. So Kirti and Jeffin are a little surprised and shocked to see that 3M has started from rocks. I think no, not many people know about this, but that's a fact, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. 3M had a very humble beginning, and today it's a scientific powerhouse for the world
Yeah.
because of that focus on innovation and building a culture of curiosity, right? And bringing people together. And these are some of the things that have really worked for 3M.
Right. So Saraja Puranik is asking, hi Blessen, you being mechanical engineer, helped in your design study or your design career? Or if you have to reframe it, you being a mechanical engineer, how far it has helped you in the design career?
It has, because it kind of created a foundation for me on what products are and how people use products, right? But beyond that, there was a bit of unlearning that I had to do because I was too focused on the functionality of a product,
Mhm.
and I had to learn how to understand the desirability of a product, how it fits into a larger ecosystem, and the needs of the end user. As an engineer, we are always trained to come up with one particular solution. It's like solving for a math problem. You
Hmm.
know that the value of X is going to be this, and it cannot be anything else. But the
Right.
world is not like that, right? You go out to the world, you want to buy a shoes. You don't have that one perfect shoe, right? You have like 10, 20 different types that you might want to have
Hmm.
amongst thousands of shoes that are there. So the options are large, and what suits one might not suit another person. So understanding what user needs are is not really captured in an engineering study, right? It's about optimizing, but when it comes to design, it's about creating more options for your end user. So that mindset in itself is slightly different, and you need both, right?
Hmm.
I think both coming together actually help create much better solutions for the end user.
Right. I think that has also answered Omisha Isha's question. So she had a question like, how would the design point of view be different from engineering point of view when you are working with technology, concepts used in engineering?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
That.
that nails that question. So Sangeeta Rajani is asking, as a designer, how do you fix the lack of technical knowledge? Because the field is so vast, and let us say you get a project in an area, in a new set of domain. So how do you fix that knowledge, technical
That's a
knowledge?
good. That's a good question. I'm happy that she asked that question because see, it's not possible for you to have all the knowledge in this world, right? So the way to overcome that is to collaborate, to find people who have that knowledge and be willing to work with them. And that's the only way we can uh, get a grip on this complex world. Right? It's not about learning everything that's there, but
Right,
finding people who are experts and be willing to collaborate with them.
right, right. Yeah, so that's a good point of view as well because in a design school, what is taught is the methodology and the process, not necessarily how to design a particular project or a product, right? Because in reality, you may be faced with any kind of a design challenge, but once you are uh, good, have a good understanding of the design methodology and the process, and you are able to collaborate with the experts in the specific fields, that you'll be able to work out your way out, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's the only way it works. You have to collaborate with people, and that's the only way you can solve complex problems. If what you're trying to solve is not complex, yeah, maybe you can put all your efforts and try and get some solution. But the impact that you can make is much more when you truly try to collaborate with people.
Right. So Kirti Mukherjee is asking, what made you realize that design is something meant for you? So when you had to make this choice of going to Air Force or choose design, so and you also mentioned that you have seen a video of for designer sketching, and you felt that okay, this is what I want to do. So how did you make such a strong decision and made a path towards design?
I think it's about finding that happiness in doing something. I've realized that when I'm sketching, when I'm making something, I'm the happiest. I find flow. The zone that you get into where you lose track of time. I realized that in those 6 months at IIT, the first term, that this is what I wanted to do because I was happy with
Mm,
spending time. I losing track of time was everyday thing, right? Because you're so immersed into creating something new, learning something new, and being connected with what that end results could be for your user, right? So those are signs that this is something that you truly want to pursue and spend the rest of your life doing.
right, right. So an experience of the process, designing something, solving something that kind of gives you an opinion whether you like it or not. Is it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also see, you will, once you start doing something, right, you will start
Mm,
feeling whether you like it or not. So for someone who likes writing, right, when they
yeah,
write a story, they lose track of time and they get into the flow.
true.
But if you don't like writing, it's going to become a huge task for you. You really feel like you're doing it for someone else.
Yes.
So I think that phase of your life where you try out a lot of different things is really important. Because
Mm,
after my engineering, I was trying out different things. I mean, look at the spectrum. I applied for Air Force, right? I was trying out that. I was trying to see if I could get into design. I was trying all these kind of things to see where I would fit in the best.
mm, right. So, understanding this particular problem, we at DQ Labs have created a program called as Design Exploration Program. This is targeted for kids above 8th standard. What we do is we take up 15 hands-on projects and we give them a brief and help them ideate like a designer does with a little bit of research and etc. So what happens is the students will experience the process. At the end, they themselves will know whether they're enjoying it or not, and they'll also get to know whether to take it forward or not. You know, so a lot of students actually undergo that, and they kind of figure out whether this is the way or not, and that helps to make a conscious decision from the student point of view and the parents point of view, because what happens is uh, nowadays all the students start preparing for their career after 10th, right? So some people go for engineering, medical, design, fashion, architecture, or engineering, and etc. So what happens is if they are not able to make an informed decision, that would be a very costly affair for them, because let us say they haven't figured what they want to do and they have gone ahead in a particular path. There's a lot of investment of time, money, resources, energy, and then later they figure out, okay, this is not what I want to do, and they change the direction. We have seen a lot of students and parents having this problem, and especially when it comes to design, because a lot of students and parents do not have that exposure. We have created this program. In fact, this is the 5th year we are organizing the program, and a lot of students have gone through that and got great experience and made great decisions. You know, so why I'm saying that is because the earlier students, like 3 or 4 years back, students who have done this program, they have gone the direction that they wanted to, and also they're doing really well in the career of their choice. They are either doing the design in NIDs or IITs, or fashion design in NIFTs, or architecture in CPTA, Ahmedabad, or SPAs, because they know what they want to do, all right, and they are able to focus by making a
Yeah, I think it's a great initiative, Umesh, because uh, there are not many avenues for students to explore these things, and you also need to give them mentorship. You need to guide them on or show them, open them up to these possibilities, right?
right.
So I think this initiative that you have, where you give them that exposure, so that they understand what their heart's calling is,
Hmm.
and they find happiness in a certain thing. I think they'll be able to give
Yeah,
more than
100%. Yeah,
what. Yeah, I think more than 100%,
good with her.
because you're not going to hold yourself back because you found that purpose, right? You
Right.
know that this is what you want to do, and once you find that, right. It's like the discretionary energy, right? It's not the energy that someone is asking from you, but it's something that you are giving because you want to excel in that, because you have found something that gives
So,
you happiness and pleasure. So I think that's great.
yeah, thank you so much for that acknowledgement, Blessing. So there are a lot of questions. A lot of questions. One common question that I am seeing here is it necessary to be an engineer to become a designer? Can can non-science students also go into design? Right? I think there is some level of questions. So in this aspect, I would like to talk to you and find out from you. Now you manage a design team, right? So you have a team of designers and engineers working with you, especially when you're looking at the design team. What kind of backgrounds do they come from? Are there engineers plus designers, which I mean engineering team members who have done
Yeah.
engineering and design, architecture and design, and non-science background and design? Could you please throw some light on that?
Yes. Yes, yeah, good question again. I think it's important to see that engineering degree is not necessary for you to pursue a career in design. Right? I think that mindset is also because of the way our educational structure is in India. That after your plus two, you don't have too many avenues, and then you end up taking engineering or medicine, and then you start looking at, okay, what is the best for you. So not necessary. In my team, I have architects who are designers,
Hmm.
who are from arts background, who are from computer science background. So many, and who have done from plus two, they've done design directly, bachelor's degree, right? They're from electronics, so varied, right? So it really is not. There's no rule that you should do an engineering to become a designer.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, in fact, design is a non-disciplinary field. One, I mean, there's a great example of IKEA, the shopping cart, right, where people or professionals from different fields come together to design a product, right? So, I think design is an interdisciplinary program, and even the design schools encourage students from various backgrounds to come and join this course so that there is a good mix of students. Like, for example, in IIT, in my batch, we had engineers and architects coming and doing design. And there is so much to learn from each other.
Right.
Yeah,
That's absolutely true, because you need to have people from different disciplines contribute in a project. But that does not mean that you can do away with design talent to solve problem. Design talent is extremely critical to bring that design aspect to life, to solve for these complex problems, right?
mm,
So design talent is important, but for that design talent, you need not necessarily have an engineering degree.
yeah, sure. Okay. So there's a participant by name G Sketch is asking, hello, sir, how was the time at Hero Motors? Would you like to spend a bit more time on explaining your Hero Motors experience?
Yeah, it was great because it was my first job. I was really thrilled because starting from the internship, because right while in college to just taking up that first job, and then working with these amazing design colleagues from Italy, from India, seniors. There was a lot to learn because straight out of college, you're looking at mentorship, mentorship. You want to learn from others, right? So that was a place where I started getting better knowledge about what design is and how design actually translates into actual products that the industry manufactures and builds, and how the user uses it, and how user feedback comes back to you, right? And how you need to be focused on certain aspects.
Right. And I also remember that um, in the studio they had got the clay, auto clay, and they had that oven because these kind of
Yeah,
these weren't there in IITs. It's a great opportunity to get hands on these and learn firsthand. So that was
yeah, it's one of the important design principles, right, of how you need to make things real, so that you're hands on, and so that the idea is not just in your mind or on paper, but you're actually creating things. You're creating, it's like an art, right? You're creating a sculpture, you're building something with your hand, and it's tangible. You can show it to people, get feedback from them, and you're seeing it right in front of your eye, and you react to it, right? So it's extremely important for you to have that hands-on experience of transforming your idea into an actual product through these mock-ups and prototypes. So industry actually gives a lot of exposure to these because it's critical to their success, because you need to predict the success factor. You need to be able to say what are the ways this could fail, and these are ways to test your idea out before it can go out to the market, before it becomes too expensive for you to make these changes. So these are quick ways to prototype and learn from the mistakes that you have made. So yeah, it was a great place for that learning.
So, in this context, I have a very tough question for you, Blessen. Okay, you can choose not to answer, but the question is this. Um, let us say you're working on a project and the project fails. Okay, who takes the blame? Who is responsible for that?
I don't think it's one person. The project can fail because of many different reasons, and it also depends on how you define failure in this
Mhm,
case, right?
mhm,
There might be a lot of learning in that failure. So it's not about who takes the blame for it. It's about who's going to learn from that, right? So
mhm,
a company really looks for, of course, they want to create a success out of anything that they develop, right? So there is an investment that goes into in terms of time and resources, right?
right.
Out of that, they expect that to go out to the market, right? That brings in revenue. But there is another aspect of learning that happens, of developing, of bringing people together, of knowing what works and what does not work, that helps the company get stronger, right? So no project is ever a failure in my eyes, right? It's about the learning that you can draw from it. So if it's set up well,
Mhm,
then you should ideally be working on something that there is a 50% chance of failure, because then you're doing something new. So if you're really sure about what's going to work, right, you are actually replicating something that already exists, right? So for me, it's about being on that edge where you say that there is a chance of failure,
mhm,
but we're going to learn something from it. And I think that's a good place for any team to be in, right? So when you change your perspective into that, and you start looking at it as a chance to learn something new, there is never a failure, right? It's always about learning and then using those learnings to iterate. So every day I go back and I look at a project. I want to look at it as a starting point on what I've learned till now and how this could be something different, right? So, I mean, that's the way I look at it.
I think that is an amazing approach, great culture and attitude. As you said, there is never a failure. There is always something to learn from that and move forward. Okay, so um, I is that the culture of 3M in general in the studio?
Very much, very much. 3M has been built on that.
Hmm,
That there is a certain level of tolerance to failure,
failure.
right? right? That's why some of these amazing products, we have today around 64,000 products in the market, right? And this has come about because of that freedom to fail, because uh, it allows you that room to experiment, right? So we make sure that whatever we start with, we get people together and we understand that this is a chance for us to learn something new, right? So we're going to do something really amazing, but we're also going to learn something new. So it gives every employee a chance to work on something that they are really passionate about. And that's where the 3M 15% time helps you work on something that you are not answerable to your supervisor, right?
Right.
So those are amazing platforms where you can do what you're passionate about, right? You don't fear failure because you are going to learn something, you're going to create something new. I mean, that's fundamental to creativity, right? You have to be doing something that's new. If it's new, how do you predict that it's going to work or not work, right?
Right.
So it's important for you to be in that state of mind where you know that there is a chance of failure, but that should not hold you back. But you should use that to energize the team and to create an environment where if there is a failure, you're not scolding someone, but using that as an opportunity to learn.
Learn.
But of course, you ensure that those failures don't repeat, right? That's another story. Right? That means that you're not learning, right?
Right.
So yeah, it's
In this
pretty
context,
central to 3M.
yeah, that's pretty good to know. In this context, Omisha Isha is asking, when a product does not function as planned in real life, how do you analyze the mistakes to change the design, or what? How do you learn from that failure? Do you
So
have a methodology for that?
yeah, there is. There are multiple methodologies for testing a product. And see, usually it's not at the end of the product development that these tests are done. Uh,
Mhm.
these tests are continuously done from the moment you have an idea in your mind,
Okay.
right? When you share an idea in your mind with another person, you are actually testing it out, right? To see if there is acceptance to that idea, right?
Mhm.
So you have not built anything yet, right? It's an idea in your mind, and you are communicating that idea to someone is a way for you to test your idea, whether in that person's experience and that person's point of view, whether it would work or not. And then you would go ahead and try and articulate it much better. You would try and sketch it out, or you will draw it. You will try and make mock-ups of it to show others, right? You will get others to collaborate with you. Each of these steps are actually ways for you to see if that product is going to work or not, right? And then when your idea takes shape, you test it out with some of the potential users, right? Now, the problem is when you don't do any of these things,
Mhm.
you are in love with your idea and not the problem that you're trying to solve. That's
Mhm.
when you're going to keep working on that idea without testing it enough. And
Mhm.
then you invest your time and energy and other people's time and energy and probably your firm's time and energy. And then at the end, you manufacture it and then you test it. And then you realize that probably things have changed, or
Mhm.
it's too expensive, or there is no need for this product in the market, or someone else has been smarter than you or faster than you.
Yeah.
Now, these things happen if you do not test well enough and figure out how your ideas can be tested. So there is no one or two. There are many ways in which you can do it. It's about being in that space where you're vulnerable and your ideas are also vulnerable. You are opening it out to others to criticize, so
Criticize.
that they tell you what's wrong with it. But if
Yeah.
you're not open to criticism, you're going to hold it till too much time is invested in it, and then realize that probably it's not the right solution for the problem that people are facing.
Right. Right. Good answer. Dhruv Kotian is asking, had 3M changed your way of working or thinking? Also, how much creativity you have been, or how much creative you have been before joining 3M? And working in 3M for such a long time, 15 years, is quite an accomplishment. Generally, designers are very, you know, they want to experience something new and they want to change and they want to do something new. So there are multiple questions here. So
Yeah.
working with 3M, have you seen any change before joining 3M and after joining 3M? That's the first question. And yeah, you can answer that first. Yeah.
Yeah, I think all these questions can be answered in the next couple of slides, because the next part of my presentation is on my work with 3M
All right.
the last 16 years. So I think uh, the answer to your first
Go
question is
ahead. Yeah.
yes.
I think
Uh, a big change.
can, yeah, we can showcase your work because there are a couple of other participants who are also curious to show some of your work, some case studies or something, peek view into your work.
Yeah,
By
yeah, sure.
answering, yeah, we can answer these questions then probably.
Okay. So yeah, so when I joined 3M like 16 years ago, 3M design was mostly into automotive graphics, and I told you about my passion for automotive, right? And that's one of the reasons why I joined. And I was focused on creating graphic solutions with the decals and all that for automobile companies. This is a phase where I learned a lot about attention to detail, because at the surface of it, it looks like, oh, it's just a graphic, it's a sticker, but there are multiple aspects to it in terms of how it appears to the end user who's going to buy it and use it, the applicators who have to apply it, the kind of takt time that you need to look into, the kind of performance it needs to give, and the kind of solutions that these OEMs are looking for, so that their vehicles look differentiated. They are able to highlight a certain functionality or highlight a certain feature that they have, or refresh a vehicle. So multiple aspects, and a lot of focus on how these are built. So I had the good fortune of working with uh, my supervisor, Sundar Ramnathan, who was an expert in this and a great designer too. So I was able to learn and learn about attention to detail and how focusing on a certain aspect, you can really change the way a product is taken to the end user. But see, my passion was, though it was in automotive, what 3M had was much more than this, because 3M has this unique 51 technology platforms that has created this huge material science company, right? So it is like a candy store of materials that you can really play with, and technologies that you have. So I always wanted to go back to that industrial design part, where I could work on products and create new experiences and new solutions. So over time, with my colleagues and my supervisor, we started branching out to other areas. So this also answers one of the questions that the audience had on uh, how can 3M sustain this kind of creativity, right? Because it's like multiple companies within a company. See, if you want to work on products, you have products. If you want to work on packaging, graphics, computer interfaces, environmental graphics, healthcare solutions, industrial solutions, consumer solutions, all this is there within the company. Because today we have 4 business groups through which these 64,000 products are taken to the market. So it has transportation and energy solutions. It has safety and industrial solutions. It has healthcare solutions, and it has consumer solutions. And the most popular are the consumer solutions like Post-its and Scotch Brite and the command strips and all. But that's a small part of what 3M is. A lot of products you don't even know that exist, like probably the device that you're using, the phone that you're using today has multiple 3M products in it that's making it lighter by removing the need for screws, using optically clear adhesives, or making the screen that you're viewing this presentation on much brighter with our brightness enhancement films. Right? So it's all these products that are there, and you get a chance to work on it and bring your creativity to solving for some of the critical needs of the users. So I started using my 15% time to work on products other than graphic solutions. I started doing environmental graphics. I started doing product design that would make our roads safer. started doing packaging designs so that the products that are used by our users are much more, or there is much more experience in it. I started creating solutions for home cleaning tools, creating floor mops and cleaning brushes and other solutions. And that's how we are able to take design from this one automotive division to all the divisions. And this was a phase of my career where I was being that inventor. And I started applying for patents for all these inventions, and I got the patent filing from US and India, and also got nominated as uh, a Circle of Excellence, of Technical Excellence and Innovation awardee, for which 3M took me and my family to US. That's when we had our kid, so we all paid trip to US to really experience this, because they really value the kind of transformation that you're able to bring to the company. The next phase was really about connecting internationally. And this was the time when we are looking at positioning 3M across the company and creating a function that got designers from various functions to one core area. So you'll see that evolution on this chart, where we started from being that automotive graphic designer. Then we moved to product design or new product introduction focus. And then it was about radically customer focus. And we were able to build certain capabilities also along the way. So starting with graphics and product, we started ensuring that we have capabilities in storyboarding, visual animation, user research, user experience design, color material finishes, interior and spatial design, and also brand experience design, because these capabilities were critical to solving for the complex problems that our customers had. And that's how we started on this journey. And today we are part of the 5 design centers in the world. And we set up, it was a 4th design center, global design center for 3M, and part of a huge group of more than 150 designers and growing. And this is the 3M Design Center in Bangalore, because we realized that there needs to be a space where designers can work, just as scientists have their labs. Designers needs to have their creative space, and we created this space and designed it in a way that is more open and collaborative. It's a space where designers can come in and work with 3Mers. They can come and explore new material possibilities. It's a very casual space that you have exposure to a lot of 3M materials. You can come with your problems, discuss them, and we'll help you solve for some of them. Here's a snapshot of the space. Here you will see that the space is being used to bring people together. And that was one of the core purpose of this, that we wanted to open up this design space to be a collaborative space, a collaborative creative hub for the company, so that these projects that start with the human-centric approach needs to start from this space. And then it's a space where we inspire our customers with the kind of possibilities that 3M materials have.
Is that Satyaseelan over there?
Yes, that's our Satya. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
guys, Satya is the automotive design head of Ashok Leyland. Here you can see him on the right hand side, white hair, white mustache, and beard. So he's Satya, Satya Seeman. He's also one of the IITians, our senior. Yeah, he heads the Ashok Leyland Automotive Studio. Yeah, cool.
Yeah. So this was the opening of the design center, where he had come over because we wanted to showcase the space. We wanted to get designers to talk about what matters to them and what's important for them, because design was no longer just a styling tool. Design was solving complex problems. It was a strategic innovation tool for these companies to connect with their customers in a much better way. So bringing together design leaders to talk about that was an enriching experience, not just for the customers who were there, but also for 3M, because 3M is also on this journey of building a design capability. Right? So getting designers to talk about what matters in design and how we can drive better value was an important milestone for us.
Cool.
Today, we use the space to bring our customers. This is a picture that we have from the cult team who visited us to see how our materials could transform their spaces. And this is what we do today. So we energize great brands. We work with some of the great brands in India and abroad to help them understand how 3M materials can transform their end users' experience, how they can see new potential for our materials. Design also helps build and protect our brand, the way we show up to our customers and the way our customers experience 3M and 3M solutions is controlled by the way design is able to creatively solve for that. The third is about strengthening our thought leadership with our customers. So the processes that we follow, the way we solve for these problems, and the way we use design to create a strategic advantage for the company. We share that with our partners and our customers and the industry thought leaders, so that there is learning in these sharing, and we try to drive a lot of that. And of course, we design great experiences for our customers. We design products and solutions that our customers can use. And this is how we bring it together. And this is the process that we follow. It all starts by identifying the value. That's where true innovation happens. Earlier, there was a question on how engineers, designers, and marketeers or business folks work together. This is how it happens. You need to bring the stakeholders together at the beginning of problem identification. This is where the tough questions on why is asked. Why does it even matter? What is most important in that? And what are the problems that you're trying to solve for? This is where the problem definition happens, where you need to have all your stakeholders together to define that value. And then design develops that value. So there is that development of value by using the art craftsmanship of design. That's where you focus on the UX, material exploration, trend studies, styling. All these comes into transforming that value that you have identified that you want to give to your end customer. And design uses that to develop that value. And for most companies, it just ends there. They develop a product or a solution and they say that, okay, it's good to go. We take that to the customer. But design also need to play a role in how you take that to the customer. So it's not enough that you identify the value or develop the value. You also need to deliver that value. So each of these touch points need to be designed so that the customer has a great brand experience when they come in touch with your product. So the usage experience, the way they buy their product, the service of the product, and each and every touch point need to be designed for that total brand experience. So if you are not involved in the initial phases, then obviously you will not be able to design the right value for your end customer. And if you're not involved in the end phase, then you will not be able to help your end users understand the real potential of your brand. So it's important for design to be involved in the identification of the value, development, and also the delivery of value. And we ensure that we do it. And using this, 3M has been really strong in the infrastructure space, especially in India, where we work with administrative offices to build cities of character. We make sure that our roads are safer so that our families come back home safer. We are powering the lifeline of India, the Indian railways, and also creating world-class experience in our airports. So I'll share with you one example because Umesh said that it'll be good to share an example, a project that we can discuss. So this is a project that's close to my heart. But before I get into that project, I want to show you why that end user experience really matter and how design is critical in solving for some of these challenges that we face. So here's an example. So if let's say we're designing a solution for an airport. So this is an example that we have created for one of the pitch to show the importance of understanding behavioral aspects, understanding the end needs and the true needs of our customers. So we looked at two types of passengers. Right? Usually, either you're traveling as an individual or you're traveling in a group, right? And if you were to design an experience for that space that this passenger is going to be, this is typically a mood board that you would create, right? You're looking at outside the window, you're waiting for your aircraft, you're walking around with your friends and things like that. But truly, this is a good representation only of a passenger who's on time. Now, what if this passenger is delayed? How does his life look,
Right.
right? Completely changes, right? Now, if you do not understand the situation that this user is in, right, whether he's in on time or is he delayed, you will not be able to design the right experience for that person. Right? So it's important for you to really know the mental state that they are in, the needs of that person, the aspirations of that person, the anxieties that they're going through, before you can even start looking at ideas for the problem that you're trying to solve for. So if you are someone who is got a lot of time on time, what you look for in that space would be completely different from someone who's delayed, right? That person just wants to get to the door of the aeroplane, right?
Right.
And the things that he's going to look for are completely different. Do you really understand this before you start designing these experiences? So we use these principles to map out a journey map. So we look at from arrival all the way to boarding, and we look at each of these touch points, and then we ask these questions like, what is going on in that person's mind? What are the challenges that he's facing? What are the aspirations that he's got? And from there, defining a hierarchy of needs that this person would have, based on which then you would look at, okay, what is the current state, and can we creatively come up with solutions to create a much better experience for that person in that space. So this is just an example that I use to show how we approach a problem. And we've been successfully doing that. And a project that's really close to my heart is the one that we have done for Indian Railways, where given all this technology that 3M's got, right, we said that if we need to really solve for the challenges that we face in India, we need to understand the cultural context. For that, we need to understand what a passenger is going through in Indian Railways before we can bring in our technologies and solution. So we started with the journey map. We identified critical touch points where people are facing issues. And then we showed that to the railways to show that, okay, these are some of the critical areas like passenger experience, and how do you maintain for passenger experience, how do you manufacture solutions for passenger experience. And then we brought in our technologies, our materials to help solve for these. So today you'll see a lot of these new trains that get launched are replacing paint, which is not a sustainable solution, with wraps in much more expressive prints and colors that show that this is an Indian train using Indian motives, creating better interiors for our trains using some of these premium materials. Right. So this has been a huge success for us because we started by understanding what human needs are, and then trying to bring in the technology aspect on how we can solve for them. We do that for our city development projects too, like the smart cities, where we are imagining the future with our partners, showing them that these are the ways we need to solve for it by understanding human needs, and we showcase what that future could be. Designers have these tools with them. They are able to imagine a future that is not there by putting trends together, by putting these needs together, aspirations together, and they can visualize what that future is going to be and show that uh, to their partners and inspire them. Because then once you see that future, you want to work towards getting there. That brings people together to work on a common purpose. It's also about partnering to decode what that future could be, about focusing on trends, focusing on what are some of those challenges that we are facing, Here, in this example, we are curating a set of materials that could be used for automotive applications to create the next generation of e-vehicles through creative brand expressions. Now, I think this is towards the last part of my presentation on how we are responding to the current situation that we are in. So 3M has been really active in helping and protecting healthcare workers and first responders with the technologies that we have and the products that we are able to bring to the market. We're also ensuring that all our employees are safe with the protocols that we have put in place. And we are also partnering with other companies to create solutions that the world would need at this point, like a partnership with Ford or MIT labs, where the solutions that are developed in the lab can be quickly scaled and taken to the world across. And this is what we're doing in India. We have a small team in India, and we're looking at how we can take some of our solutions and help our customers cope with the situation that we are in, help them with business continuity, help them create safer places for their customers to walk in, create safer environment for their employees. How do you sanitize and clean surfaces? How do you refurbish your spaces so they are easy to clean and much more welcoming for their customers? And it's not enough that you clean a place. You also need to communicate certain protocols. So social distancing communication is an important part. How do you help them? So designers and marketers and technical folks got together during this lockdown and the corona period virtually to build a set of solutions that our customers could refer to and use. So we went into details like these passenger touch points like we showed you. We looked at each of these points and then try to see how 3M solutions could transform that experience and how to make those spaces safer. And we build out these solutions for multiple spaces like our railway stations and coaches, like airports, quick service restaurants, retails, urban spaces, toll plazas, or office spaces. And this is now being used world over. And from India, we are sharing this with other countries also, where they're using these illustrations and solutions that they can then share with their customers. So just to wrap up, I think we are overshot the time a little bit. For me, design is a powerful innovation tool that can solve complex social problems. And I feel that design truly humanizes technology and helps brands and companies connect with their end users. And it's not just connecting with the products, it's about that deeper emotional connect that you're able to create. And with that connect, you are able to inspire them beyond their imagination, because you then tend to understand their real needs, right? Even without them telling you what the needs are, because you use empathy to understand what these problems are, and then you try and solve for them. And that's why design is so special for me. And that's why I've been spending so much of time and effort in ensuring that design is used to improve our lives in every possible way. That's what I have.
That's pretty cool, Blessen.
Thank
So,
you.
first of all, congratulations for receiving that special recognition from your US
Thank
team
you.
for the wonderful work that you have done. And filing 10 patents is not an easy task. That's a lot of effort, right? And there's a lot of effort of filing and also fighting for it. And of course, you work with your lawyers and all that. But that's a great experience by itself, isn't it? And I think after this presentation, I also get to know the secret behind why you have stuck with 3M for so long, because there's so much of creative activity happening all over, you know. So I mean, the amount of work that you guys are doing is really amazing,
Thank you.
right? And no wonder that is keeping you really creative and alive in the organization. And they're also giving you great opportunity, noticing your potential and giving you the opportunity to help them. You know, that's a great position to be in. So that's pretty cool. There are a series of questions that are coming here. Aditya Sriram
Sure.
is asking, so 3M helps in producing products but not make their own products. So he wants to know, would you have your own products apart from helping other companies produce their products?
Oh, we have our own products, a lot of them. So
Mhm.
I think the most popular one are the post-it notes, which is 3M's own product. Scotch Brite range of products like the Scotch tapes and the cleaning tools that you would see in the market are 3M products based on our 3M technologies. The command strips that you will see now in the market are our products. You would also see 3M hand care, hand rub solutions, and also the N95, 3M N95 masks and respirators that's there in the market. These are 3M products that are sold to the end users. But I think around probably more than 80% of our products are ingredients to making other companies succeed with their products. So it's a mix of both. We do have our own products that we sell to consumers, and we have even more products that are ingredients to the success of many other products out there in the market.
Right. So, in terms of business, it would be quite complex to convince guys to work with 3M because you have your own products, and if you're working with other guys, they could be your competitors. So, is that a challenge for you, or is it not?
Uh, not really, because depends on how you see competition. Because these competitions could also be a partner if you approach it in the right way. There is no true only one way of looking at it, because who could be your competition could actually be buying some of your products too. So in a
Mm,
certain segment, we might be competing. So there are respirators where we compete, but in other areas, they actually buy 3M products for their other electronic products. So
interesting.
it's about how you define your partnership with them. So
Mm,
it's a healthy mix, and I think it's extremely professional the way we conduct that and the way we interact and engage with other companies.
mm, cool. So, I hope you remember Dhanashekar.
I
So,
do.
so Dhanashekar has got a few questions, which I feel he has been asking this for the benefit of larger audience. Okay, so he's saying, okay, can you define how important is the role of color in industrial design?
Color. Did I get that right?
Color, yeah, yeah. How important is the role of color in industrial design?
Color is usually an emotional topic, right? When you look at a consumer from a consumer point of view at home, if you have to decide the color of a curtain or something, it's an extremely subjective thing. But for an industrial designer, it is not. You need to convert that subjectivity into an objective question on why it matters. So the designer needs to really understand the context of color for the end user before he can take a decision on that. So there are multiple aspects that play out here. Brand for that company is an important aspect on the kind of color that can be used. The cultural context is an important part on what colors mean to people. It can change geographically, culturally. So there are these aspects, and then the whole theory of color on what you can use and what you cannot use and what it communicates. And then another layer of complexity when you have to combine and create harmonious colors and contrast colors. So an extremely important topic which requires you to dedicate a good amount of your time and effort to really study and understand. And this is something that trend designers are obsessed with, right? They spend an insane amount of time studying color and the impact of color it has on our products and our ecosystem and the way we interact with our environment. So extremely important, I would say. And coming from a material science company, yeah, I work with designers who see minute variations in these colors, so I understand the importance it has and the obsession they have with getting a certain tone and the importance it has to their end users and how they react with it. I hope I've answered your
Yeah,
question, Dana.
yeah. So I would also like to add that color, apart from being emotional, it can also be sometimes functional. Like for example, the safety signs, the colors used on the safety signs, and also
Absolutely.
the colors
Yeah.
used for the signals. So they also have a functional aspect to it, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So my point is that the industrial designer should be able to define that before he can suggest colors. Because I see someone who is not a designer always try to see it from a subjective point of view, whether you like the color or not. So if you show me a product and you ask me like, do you like the color? So my response to that is like, in what context are you talking, right? It's not my personal opinion on that color, but the context in which it is. So there is an important aspect of functionality in it. There is an important aspect of emotion, culture, and there are multiple aspects. So as a designer, you should be able to define these aspects and before you can take that decision. And it's even more important for you to help your customers understand these aspects, right? Otherwise, they'll think that anyone can walk in and then choose a color and it should work, right? It
Right,
doesn't work like that.
right. So Dhanashekar also wants to know which is your first innovative product in 3M. Can you share?
Oh, yeah, that depends on how you define innovative,
Okay.
right? But something that's really close to my heart is the reflective solution that I created. It's a delineator to make our roads much more safer.
Mhm.
I use multiple technologies in that and created uh, a solution that stands out because we also wanted to create a brand identity using that product. But if you are looking at a product design, the big change happened when I designed the first toilet brush. Right?
Hmm.
Probably something that a industrial designer wouldn't want to start with. But in my 15% time, there was an opportunity to design a toilet brush for the Scotch Brite brand,
Okay.
and probably there was no one doing that. So I thought I could show my skills there, and I designed
Hmm.
that. That got the attention of a few marketers who were looking at solving for some of the product designs, and they saw that there's this guy who's doing automotive graphic design, but he can solve for product design also. Why don't we get him on board? And that's how I actually got to work on multiple product designs. So that actually changed the way I approach product design for me. But yeah, multiple products I would call innovative.
Right. That's cool to know. Um, So could you suggest, like when you are employing a designer for your design team, what kind of qualification and abilities or characteristics that you look for in those designers? Is it the portfolio? Is it the degree that they get? Or what is that you're looking for in them?
Hey, good question. Thanks a lot for asking that. So for me, it's about the person's ability to understand the end user. Right?
Hmm.
I see a lot of portfolios where students and applicants show their final product and their work and have no reference whatsoever to who that user is or what the real problems they're facing. So I really look for the depth of understanding in about what that user needs are. Uh, so my question would always be about how well do you understand your end user? So as
Hmm.
a student, I think they should focus most importantly on understanding who the user is. That really shows the level of empathy that you're able to bring into solving the problem. And that truly differentiates you as a designer from others. Right? So for me, that's the starting point. I look for your understanding of the end user needs. And that's where any conversation can start because you're your product solution is always in that context of who your user is and what his real needs are and what you're solving for. So that's for me the starting point. The second, of course, is the craft that you're able to bring to the table, right? What is unique about you that you are investing your time and effort in, right? What is the kind of craft that you are building, right? The skills that you are investing in, right? That will help you solve for these problems. So that's the second thing that I look for. And the third one, probably something that's not very popular, is how well you collaborate. And it's extremely difficult to show that through your portfolio, but it shows up when you work with someone, right? On how well you're able to collaborate with others. And I think that's an important part or an ingredient to your success in any organization. Because if you're not able to collaborate, and if it doesn't come naturally to you, or you don't put efforts into collaborating, there is only so much you can do yourself. But if you are a collaborator and you use your creativity to bring people together, I think you can solve much bigger problems, and the impact that you would make would be much more. So for me, these are the three things that I look for. Do you understand your users well, and are you able to articulate and communicate that to others? Do you focus on your skills as a designer, and do you collaborate well with others?
Awesome. Okay. So you kind of answered this question, but let me just ask it back to make it very clear for others. Do you get to work on individually on projects, or is it always in a team? So,
projects usually start projects usually start at an individual level. It starts in teams also, but there is usually a champion who's going to be passionate about that, and who's going to drive the project. So there is an individual who's going to like keep the team together, or be that center piece of bringing people together and solving for it. That's I've seen that, though it's always a team that solves these problems, right? Individuals have their own place in that. They bring in something unique to that team. That's why they're part of that team. So there are certain aspects of any project that an individual would be driving on his own. So there is that individual contribution that happens. But it has to work within that team. It has to work together with others whose work kind of dovetail into your work, right? So both are important to know what you are capable of, and how you influence others, and how what you're able to drive, right, as a champion, and how do others fit into solving for the problem that you're trying to solve for. I think both are equally important. And there are projects that you start off, but eventually it's always working with others, right? I've never seen a case where you are this one star who performs everything. I've never seen, frankly, in my experience. It's always working with others. Others are critical to your success. So uh, take them along, right? Bring people together. That's what I would say.
cool. So there are a few participants who are giving you a lot of comments, appreciations. Sangeeta Rajani saying really inspiring work. Sanjay
Thank you, Cynthia.
speaker saying excellent presentation, thanks.
Thank you.
Pooja saying thanks, Blessen Philip, to share challenges faced in design field. Right. So I think the
Thank you.
entire presentation was very, very insightful, and the people can see your journey clearly. Okay. Uh, that's fantastic presentation. But we have a few more questions to ask from you. All right. So let me
Yeah.
just read some of the questions. Okay. So regarding working during the lockdown, okay, so a participant by name G Sketch is asking, how was your experience while working during the lockdown? Because designing is more of a team-oriented work.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a team-oriented work, and we had to just figure out ways to work with our team members. So the lockdown kind of happened pretty fast, and there was not much time for us to like make sure that we get into that comfort zone fast. But over time, we figured out the tools that we can use to connect with each other. So being connected with our colleagues was the most important part, right? I felt that the technological capabilities of having the laptop, phone, internet connection, and all are kind of given today, right? Almost everyone has that, so we never had a challenge with that. The real challenge was on being connected with others, and because you now cannot just walk up to someone and look at their work over the shoulder and start a conversation, right? You need to plan a time to get together. So certainly there is a challenge, but you can overcome that by having more casual meetings and casual engagements. Whatever you are doing physically, if you can figure out a way to bring some part of that in the digital world, uh, on how you interact with others, right? I think it helps you overcome that much faster. And then we also started trying out tools like Miro and all that, where we can share a workspace and have discussions. So these are some of the things that we did. Uh, I think the positive side is that there is no excuse to not get connected to folks around the world.
Right.
Earlier, we would work with people uh, whom we can get into a room with. So if things
Mm,
don't go right, then call everyone into a room so that you can discuss and solve.
mm,
Now you can call anyone into a room anywhere in the world, right?
mm.
So you would then look for the best talent that you can collaborate with. You would look for people who have unique capabilities to be part of your team, to give you advice or to go through your work. And nothing's holding you back because it's all digital. It's a level playing field now. So that I think has really helped us. So we now connect much better with our colleagues in Japan, Milan, Korea, US.
Mm.
So that front, I think it's become really easy. But of course, we are not able to meet together and have the same fun that we used to have before. But we do have these regular meetings where we get together, discuss things other than our projects too.
Okay. Okay. That's interesting to know. So you collaborate with other 3M design studios and you share your work, probably take inputs, or do you also collaborate and work on a project cross studios?
We do.
Okay.
We do. Yeah. So one interesting thing that came up was that we saw a Japanese colleague, a designer, using his 15% time, had created a virtual exhibition
Mhm.
where you could log in and then you have your designs that you can see. It has a 360-degree view, and we thought like, yeah, this is really amazing. We should try and replicate that. So
Mhm.
immediately we wrote to them asking if they can help us, and within 2 weeks we got that replicated with
Mhm.
actually no experience in this. We have no coders in our team,
Right.
right? But we were able to, and there was a language barrier, but
Mhm.
the supervisor who could speak good English came along with us on the meeting to help with the translation and got it done. And we got it up as a starting point because we need to explore more of these. But just by seeing someone in another part of the world solve it, right, we were able to be inspired by that and then get that replicated for ourselves. So I've seen a huge change in the way the whole digital adoption is happening.
Right. So you must be having some kind of an intranet to connect with all these colleagues, like a LinkedIn for 3M kind of a platform to collaborate and coordinate.
Yeah, we do it on Teams, Microsoft Teams now,
Okay.
uh,
Okay. Okay.
and we use Miro. We're getting more designers are getting onto Miro.
Zero. Oh, I see. Okay. So again, related or something related with this COVID situation, has there been any project where you couldn't visit the sites to research on the problems faced? Asked by Umisha Isha.
Yeah, a lot of times because at this point, 3M does not allow its employees to travel to customers' place. And because we have a phased back to work protocol to ensure the safety of our employees. So we are not able to visit a lot of these customers that we want to, but we work with them remotely. We try to get as much information as we can, and they also understand the situation that we are in. So they help us with whatever information that they can. So it's not as easy as it was before in terms of collecting information or observing
Yeah,
someone in action.
yeah.
That's become really difficult. Yeah, so these are things I think over time we'll have to overcome using more better tools, better digital tools, and safety precautions. Yeah, it is a challenge. Yeah.
Yeah, probably one scenario I can think of is using drones to capture what users are doing, and then probably watch those videos again and again to understand. Right?
Yeah, so it's about doing it without being too intrusive, right? I don't think the drone technology is yet there. It is still a bit intrusive. Uh,
Hmm.
yeah, so yes, we are struggling with it. Do let us know if there are better ways.
Right. Um, Sanjay is asking, do you think in future 3M foil can replace painting of exterior automotive panels?
Yeah, we're already doing it. We have
Hmm.
paint replacement films that are being applied and used by a lot of our customers. So it is a possibility. We're already doing it. There are many applications. We can connect separately on that. If it's a need, do write to me.
Hmm.
You can connect with me on LinkedIn, and I can give you more information on paint replacement films.
Right. So you can search for Blessen Philip on LinkedIn, and you can connect with him, right? And he would be all help for you. Um, okay, so um, I'm reframing this question from Aditya Sriram. Okay, so can you explain um, how you spend your day at office, at work, as a design manager? What would you be doing in a day?
Oh, currently, I think the
Or pre-COVID?
oh, pre-COVID. Okay,
Yeah.
I think pre-COVID. The beginning of the day is about planning for the day, and then connecting with your colleagues. So there would be multiple reviews to make sure that things are all right. So you would have project reviews and stuff like that. And then you would identify the areas that you need to get involved in. So you would work closely with certain designers. You'd mentor some, and those are the typical things. But I think the stuff that I'm most excited about is when I have to discuss future planning for the designer when they have certain aspirations and they want to discuss that. I get excited about that because it's about creating better designers. And
Mm,
for me, I feel uh, that's the first thing. We need to first create better designers before better products can be made,
yeah.
and that can change the world. So I I try to spend more time discussing about their potential and truly unleashing that. So for me, that being with them to help them create better and to be better designers excite me more.
All right. So in this context, are you connected with any Indian education institutions?
Yeah, so we have programs that we run, internship programs that we run with various institutes. And also depends on the type of projects that we have. These are usually sponsored projects and projects that we want to take to the market. We also talk at events like this. We share our knowledge about design and how students could learn these new tools and the whole thought process. I think we are engaged with multiple institutes at multiple levels. In fact, this month we hired one of the interns. Given the tough times, right? There is a hire freeze, but in design we were able to hire an intern uh, because of the work that he had done during this time. He was working on a project that's making our roads safer in India, and it got the attention of folks globally, and they wanted to retain the talent and take this project forward. So yeah, uh, these are good things. In tough times, getting a hire is not easy, but we got it done.
Right, right, great. Um, Aditya Sriram wants to know, what do you think design has in the future?
Oh, a lot. I think design. See, like I said before, right? It is critical for the kind of problems that we're trying to solve, the social issues that we're trying to solve for making our lives better, making this world better. Because design starts with empathy. Right? That's the human connect, and that's the most powerful uh, tool that you can bring in. And a lot of other functions don't take that into consideration, and that's where designers become the voice of that end user. They are also passionate about the impact of their solutions to the environment, right? That's where the sustainability aspect comes in, and they hold their companies responsible. They ask the tough questions on why we are working on a project. So instead of just taking a project as it comes, they are the ones who are going to ask, like, what are we trying to get out of this project, right? Why does it matter? Are there better ways of doing it? Right? They bring in an ecosystem view to any problem. So for these reasons, I think design is going to play a major role in how problems are being defined, addressed, and solved for.
Um, Nicholas Bandavkar is asking a question: which CAD and CAE softwares you are using in 3M, and how much these CAD softwares can compensate for very poor sketching skills for a designer?
Interesting question. So we use SolidWorks. We use multiple softwares, but I think something that's easy for designers that I've seen more of them use is SolidWorks. But we don't depend on that too much for our communication. We still uh, focus on sketching and storytelling to convey our ideas, because we know that we have engineers who can actually create these CAD models if you tell the story well, if you are able to inspire them to create the right solutions, if you are able to define the problems in the right way, right? These things, there are people who have these skills who can create CAD models for you. I think storytelling is actually more important. In my experience over the years, I've realized that storytelling is much more important than sketching, because if you're not able to influence others through the stories that you say, right, uh, you might not find the right impact for what you're trying to solve for. So start by focusing on your storytelling capabilities. That's where people will start listening to you. So that's where you will start bringing in the human aspects and highlight the need for focusing on human aspect, right? And then when you start solving for the problems, yeah, you can use sketching or CAD model depending on what you're more comfortable with. There's no one over the other, right? If you have good skills in CAD, you would use that. If you have better sketching skills, you would use that. If you don't have either of them, you would find a friend who can do that for you and convince him of the impact that you're trying to make, and he would help you with that. But be clear about the story that you're trying to create to change the world.
Right. So, Blessen, do you think designing is a permanent career or is only a temporary one? This question is being asked by Sunil Karthik.
I think it's a lifestyle choice, I guess, because everything revolves around design. For me, yeah, of course, there is career and personal life, but it's kind of intertwined, right? For me, it's kind of permanent. But what has changed is the way I look at design, and the impact that design can make has changed over the time. When I started, I was focused more on sketching and the product level, and then it moved to system level. And today I'm more focused more on creating more designers and creating more impact through the design that we are making. So I think that's changed, and it also evolves in that direction, right? So we need to see how it's going to evolve in the future, but certainly there's a bright future.
Yeah. Okay. So I would also want to spend some time on taking criticism, right? So as designers, it is very much important that we approach all the inputs with an open mind, right? So um, can you narrate certain situations where the criticism was too much to take, or you or the team could not handle that criticism?
See, it really depends on how it's being given, right?
Mhm.
Criticisms can be given in a very rude manner uh, without really understanding the purpose of that criticism. Sometimes people let their ego get in the way, and to project a larger than life image, they try to do crazy stuff and give criticism that might not be productive enough. I really try to focus on people who give constructive criticism
Mm.
with a purpose in their mind. Like if it's to help move the project forward, if it's to help the person get better than what he is today, I think it should be welcome. Right. These are usually internal criticism, and you need to know how to give them and also take them. But there is also criticism that comes from your user, right? And you have no control over it. You have to uh, just take it in the right spirit, because they probably are going through some tough time, or they have had a bad experience using your products or solution. They have spent their money. They have When they have had other choices, they chose to invest in your solution, and when it does not live up to that expectation, they're going to come back, and they're not going to be very courteous. So you need to learn from that, and you need to be uh, grateful that they're giving you that feedback and not giving it to someone else, right? So uh, what we do is to listen and take whatever action we can to correct that, to help them first, to understand what they're going through, and to help them in whatever way we can. But yeah, criticism is an important aspect, and it's a critical aspect for design to succeed, right?
Mm.
If you do not expose yourself to critique, right, you're going to fail. um, and there's no doubt about it, because you would have been working on something that's substandard, or something that does not match up to the real potential, right? You're doing a huge disservice to your team members too if
Mm.
you shield them from criticism. So it's important. But as an individual, you need to be clear about how you give it, and do it in a way that's constructive, so that others benefit from your criticism. And when you get it from your customers, you need to be humble enough to accept it, learn from it, understand the situation they are in, and try and help them in whatever way you can.
Right. So another challenge that I generally find with students, design aspirants, is they are a little reluctant to show their work because they feel the work is not complete, right? And they are afraid of the comments or whatever views that are passed on that work. Okay. So I think this is a phase all the design aspirants will come over at a point of time. Okay. Because they also need to find that confidence, they need to find that trustworthiness from the mentor who is giving the feedback and etc. Right? But in general, this is the what behavior of the students. They would not show their work until they feel it is good enough for them. Only then they show the work, right? In the process, they lose a lot of time, effort, and all of that, right? So, what advice would you give them so that they can overcome that difficulty?
Thanks for that question. I feel I'm also in that same situation. It's not easy to put an unfinished work out there, right? But then it really depends on what you want to get out of that interaction that you're having, right? So if you want to get feedback on your work, you need to position your work in that context. So you need to say that this is not finished work, and this is an experiment that you're doing, and this is a phase in which you are, but there are certain learnings that you have, and then accept feedback on those aspects that you are willing to get feedback on. Probably your product is not finished in terms of the styling or the choice of color, right? Or the features that you have in it. So you can always say that, okay, these aspects I have not covered, but there should be certain aspects that you have covered, right? Those you should be able to get feedback on. Usually it's like, okay, if you're creating something, you would create a structure to it, and then you would start building out on that. So don't, though you want to give that finished product out there for criticism or feedback, it's never a finished product, right? It's always going to evolve, right? Even after it goes out into the market, you're going to get feedback and it's going to evolve. So you have to define what phase you are in and show the context, and then get feedback on that. I think that'll help the person who is giving you feedback also understand how to help you, right? Because most of the time, if you're not willing to put your work out there, you're not going to get any feedback, right? So if that feedback is important for you, then you should figure out a way to position your work so that you get constructive feedback, so that the feedback doesn't come on something that you have not worked on, right? But on something that you're focused on.
Right. Right. Okay. So let me go back to the questions. Let me see if there are any more questions, new questions that have come up. So you have done your MBA while working. Is that true? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So was it difficult to study and work at the same time?
Yeah, very. Because there's work commitment that you have, and then there's family that you need to take care of, and then there is the studies, right? And because you are signed up for something, you cannot do a half job. So you try to do your best in all these three. So it's not an easy thing, and my advice is to think through really well and understand the amount of work that's required before you commit yourself to this kind of studies during your work. But this is not a unique thing. I had a class of like 75 who were in a similar situation, right? All of them were working. So we all traveled through it. We helped each other out a lot, and we came through really well as better individuals, more knowledgeable, right? And made good friends. So there is always a positive to pushing yourself. So if you ask me if it was easy, no, it was not easy. But did I enjoy it? Absolutely. Did I make good use of it? Yes. It was really good for me to learn that, and something that I was passionate about. And yeah, there's always people who will help you. So you want to do it, understand what you're getting into, and then get into it.
Right. Okay. So Abin is asking, how do you come to know or realize the problems or defects from user part for a particular product?
I think it's a very generic question. It really depends on what product it is and what is that stage of testing that you are in. Just by asking the user, you would get some feedback. Then you would have your own observation on how they use it or misuse it, right? That would be another way. And you can always do lab tests to see if things are working or not working. So there are multiple ways you can get feedback as long as you want feedback. Many cases people don't want feedback. They're afraid of feedback, so they always postpone getting that feedback, right? uh, they keep on doing it themselves or keep on testing it out in the lab without putting it out in the real life scenario, or they ask the wrong questions to the user. They don't do the observation part. They think voice of customer is just the answers to the questions that they have. Probably your questions are wrong, right? So you need to observe how people are using your product, what they're telling others about your product, what they're telling you about your product, how would you use the product, right? So multiple things.
Right. All right. So we are almost at the close of the session. I think we have understood or addressed most of these questions. Okay. So any advice that you would like to give for the design aspirants and the parents that are attending this show?
Yeah, if you're passionate about design, and by design, all that I try to show you, and there's much more, right? Uh, then go for it. Don't hold back. This is your chance to transform the world that we live in, right? Through something that's really unique, of bringing empathy and creativity together, right? By understanding human needs and your creativity of creating something new, right? Something that never existed. That's what the world needs now. About understanding human needs and the world that we inhabit, and then making a positive change to that world. And I think design can do it. So it's a good time for you to invest your time and energy into getting those tools, understanding, connecting with people who are working on these. So that's what I would say. And I think all that we discussed over the last 2 hours, yeah, you would have gotten a fair idea about the kind of work and the kind of impact that you can make. So if you care about people, if you care about making a change in their life, and if you're creative and you're passionate about doing it and making solutions, go for it.
Right. Okay. Oh, one last question. Okay. So I forgot who has asked this. It's a very interesting question. Would you give any avenues for the students to pitch their ideas for you so that those can be implemented?
Yeah, so I think there are multiple forums for doing it. So 3M has partnered with CII on the Young Innovators Challenge, and this was open last month. I was in a panel of judges for the ideas that came in. We this year we got around 2,500 ideas from students and others in across India, right? Where you can pitch your idea, and 3M gives prize money on so that you can take this, develop it further, and it's substantial, good amount of prize money. So I would say look for the 3M CII Young Innovators Challenge that comes up, and do participate. It's a great platform for you. You would get connected with innovators across India, and a great platform for you to bring your idea to life too.
Yeah, that seems very interesting. So I would request you, Blessen, if you can share that information with me whenever it comes out in public. I can share
I'll
it
do that.
with my students so that they can participate in it.
I'll do that.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so there is a little open-ended question here by Ravindra Gukhane. What kind of career choices are you left with once you complete your master's in design?
Again, if you're looking at continuing with design, multiple areas. So you can get into UX, UI, you can get into the core industrial design. You can get into strategic design. There is trend research. There is design research. Then there is uh, design for prototyping. So the color, material finishes, right? Graphic design. So there are a huge range. I think it's just opening up. Right? The whole area is opening up. So if you give Google search for the various domains that are existing now, that will give you a fair idea of all that's available there.
Right, right. Um, okay, so one of the participant, G Sketch, is asking, can we visit the 3M design studio?
Yes, this is an open invitation. You can do get in touch with me, but at this point we're still figuring out how to make the space safe for any visits, but eventually when things open up, I think it's a place that you should visit. We would encourage you, and if you have a problem that you're trying to solve, do reach out to us. And, we also have an innovation space there where we have displayed a lot of our products and technologies where you can take a look at them too.
Right, cool. So, Blessen, it had been a wonderful evening with you. Okay, thank you so much for sacrificing your Sunday and coming over this industry e-meet, interacting with us and helping us understand your journey, your story, and also what 3M does. For a lot of the participants, it's an eye opener to see what 3M does. In fact, it was for me when I had visited your studio. I didn't know so much, right? So amazing presentation. Thanks a lot for patiently answering all these questions. Your enthusiasm to show all your work is really appreciated, and um, we wish you all the best in your endeavors, and we wish to see you at one point of time leading the entire 3M design studios all across the world. Right? It would be a great
Thank
privilege.
you.
It would be a great privilege for all of us, right? And it's a great opportunity for you as well, leading the entire 3M design team at one point of time. And thank you so much for again coming over here. And I would like to thank my audience, parents, students, and the design aspirants for making use of this opportunity. So this video will be live on YouTube. You can always go back and check if you have missed any part of that. Thank you so much. Next week we are having a very interesting personality, an architect who's going to talk about the art and architecture of living a life, right? So he has been a very accomplished architect, and he not only managed to design buildings, but he also managed to build his passion in swimming. He's a national swimming champion, and now he's focusing on music, right? So profession is not just about doing your professional work, but your development as an individual as well. So there's a lot of inputs that we can learn from architect Ashok next Sunday. So please do tune in 4 to 6. And I also like to thank Neha from Nagpur, D Clubs Nagpur, for supporting us as we are having this session. She was supporting over the chat, answering all the questions. Thank you, Neha, so much. Right?
Thank you,
And
Umesh. Thank you, Blessen, for being around and really helping out the students.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Neha. Thanks a lot,
Thank
Umesh
you.
and
Thank you.
Sean. Thanks for the opportunity and all the kind words. It's been a good platform. It was my pleasure.
yeah, and please do let us know when that 3M CII Young Entrepreneurs competition is released, we would like to circulate among our students. And also we are having a design hackathon, guys. If you are not enrolled yet, please do enroll in this design hackathon happening 22nd and 23rd of August. So you can experience how to solve these problems. You will be working under mentors, design mentors, to solve these problems. And of course, the best solution and the people who have used the process to the best will also win Wacom and Stettler prizes, right? So if you are not, please do get in touch with the counselors or call on 959-100-1000. Get to know more about the details, and please do enroll in that. Okay. So thank you so much. Thank you all. Thank you, Blessen, once again for your time.
Thank you.
And it was really a pleasure looking through all your work and understanding your journey. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right.
Bye-bye.
So with this, I'm going to stop the live meet. Okay. Thank you so much. Bye.